The massive alien ship appeared at the edge of the solar system like a dark mountain floating in space. Admiral Park Jisoo stood on the bridge of Earth's flagship, watching the sensors light up with warnings. The ship was bigger than anything humans had ever built. It was bigger than their biggest space station. "How big is that thing?" asked Captain Lee Hana, standing beside the Admiral. Her young face showed worry, but her voice stayed calm. 15 kilometers long, replied the sensor officer. Mass readings are off our charts. Admiral Park had seen many battles in her 40 years of service. She had fought pirates in the outer colonies and defended trade routes from raiders. But this was different. This ship did not come to fight. It came to deliver a message. President Choi Dai-ho arrived on the bridge 30 minutes later. He was a tall man with gray hair who had once been a general himself. Behind him walked Dr. Kim Min-soo, Earth's top expert on alien species. The doctor carried a tablet full of notes about the visitors. "Any word from them yet?" President Choi asked. "They sent a message 20 minutes ago," Admiral Park replied. "They want to meet, face to face. They call themselves the Galactic Hegemony." Dr. Kim looked up from his tablet. "I've been studying their language patterns. They seem very formal, very proud. They think they are in charge of this part of space." The meeting took place in the conference room of Earth's orbital station above the planet. The alien who came was tall and thin, with blue-gray skin and 4 arms. It wore robes that seemed to shine with their own light. It called itself Ambassador Thexavar. "I speak for the Galactic Hegemony," the alien said through its translator device. "We represent 847 species across this galaxy. We bring you an important message." President Choi sat across from the alien. Admiral Park and Dr. Kim flanked him on both sides. "We are listening," the president said. Thexvar's large eyes looked at each human in turn. "Your species has spread too far. You have colonies in 12 star systems. You build ships for war. You expand without asking permission. This cannot continue." "We have never attacked another species," Dr. Kim said carefully. "Our colonies are peaceful. We trade with everyone we meet." The alien made a sound that might have been laughter. "You say you are peaceful, but you are warriors. We have watched you. You fight each other. You make weapons. You train soldiers. This is the way of a dangerous species." Admiral Park felt her hands tighten into fists under the table. She had spent her life protecting human colonies from pirates and raiders. Every weapon humanity built was for defense. Every soldier she trained was to keep innocent people safe. "What exactly are you asking us to do?" President Choi asked. Thexvar stood up, making itself even taller. "The hegemony gives you this choice. Leave all your colonies beyond this solar system. Bring all your people back to Earth. Submit to our guidance. Do this, and you may live in peace." "And if we refuse?" Admiral Park asked. "Then you will face total pacification." The alien's voice did not change, but the words felt like ice. "No species has ever refused the hegemony and survived. We have destroyed planets. We have wiped out entire civilizations. We do this to keep peace in the galaxy." Dr. Kim leaned forward. "Surely we can find a better solution. Our species could work together. We could learn from each other. Humans have much to offer the galaxy." Thexvar looked at the doctor with what seemed like pity. "Young species always say such things. They promise to be good. They lie. Warriors cannot change their nature. You will always want more territory. You will always want to fight. It is better to stop you now." President Choi was quiet for a long moment. He looked at Admiral Park, who gave him a small nod. He looked at Dr. Kim, who shook his head sadly. Then he looked back at the alien. "How long do we have to decide?" he asked. 72 standard hours, Thexvar replied. "My fleet will wait at the edge of your system. When the time ends, you will give us your answer. Choose wisely. The hegemony does not give second chances." After the alien left, the 3 humans sat in silence for several minutes. Finally, Admiral Park spoke. "How many ships do they have?" "Our scouts counted 200, replied Dr. Kim. "Each one is larger than our biggest dreadnought. Their weapons are more advanced than ours. Their shields are stronger. So we cannot win a straight fight," President Choi said. "Not a straight fight, no," Admiral Park agreed. "But humans do not always fight straight fights. Dr. Kim looked worried. Admiral, they have conquered 800 species. They have technology we can barely understand. Maybe we should consider their offer. Consider giving up our homes? Admiral Park's voice was sharp. Consider abandoning the colonists who trusted us to protect them? Consider becoming slaves to aliens who think we are too dangerous to be free? President Choi held up his hand for quiet. I need to think about this. I need to talk to the colony governors. I need to know what our military can actually do. That evening, President Choi called a secret meeting. Only 5 people came. Himself, Admiral Park, Dr. Kim, General Song Woobin, who commanded Earth's ground forces, and Engineer Yoon Sora, who built humanity's weapons. Tell me honestly, the president said. Can we fight them? General Song was a big man with scars on his hands from his days as a soldier. Their ships are bigger and stronger, he said, but they fight like bullies. They expect enemies to be afraid. They expect easy victories. Engineer Yoon was young for her position, but she was the smartest person most people had ever met. We have some advantages they do not know about, she said. New weapons, new technology, things we have been working on in secret. What kind of things? Dr. Kim asked. The kind that might surprise aliens who think they know everything, Admiral Park said with a thin smile. President Choi stood up and walked to the window. Outside, Earth turned slowly in space, blue and white and beautiful. Millions of people lived down there. Billions more lived in the colonies among the stars. They want an answer in 72 hours, he said without turning around. What will you tell them? Dr. Kim asked. President Choi turned back to face the group. His eyes were hard as steel. I will tell them that Earth stands. I will tell them that humans do not kneel to bullies. I will tell them that if they want our colonies, they will have to take them. Admiral Park smiled for the first time since the aliens arrived. It will be dangerous, sir. We might lose everything. We might, President Choi agreed. But we will lose as free people, and who knows? Maybe these aliens will learn something about humans they did not expect. General Song cracked his knuckles. When do we start preparing? We start now, the president said. Send word to all the colonies. Tell them what is coming. Ask for volunteers. And activate Protocol Omega. Dr. Kim looked confused. What is Protocol Omega? Admiral Park's smile grew wider. Something we hoped we would never need. Something that will show these aliens that humans are full of surprises. As the meeting ended and the others left, President Choi stood alone at the window again. In 72 hours, he would give the galactic hegemony his answer. He already knew what that answer would be. Earth would not surrender. Earth would not kneel. And if the aliens wanted a fight, they would get one they would never forget. The countdown had begun. 68 hours until the aliens expected Earth's surrender. Across the solar system, humans moved with purpose that surprised even themselves. General Song Woobin stood in the command center deep beneath Earth's surface. Around him, screens showed the movement of ships, supplies, and people. Everything was happening faster than anyone thought possible. Status report, he called out. All orbital defense platforms are online, reported his aide. The asteroid belt. Miners have confirmed their cooperation. Luna Base is ready for siege conditions. General Song nodded. The plan was simple in concept but complex in execution. If the aliens wanted Earth, they would have to fight for every meter of space around it. Above ground, Engineer Yoon Sora worked in her secret laboratory. She had not slept in 36 hours, but her eyes were bright with excitement. Around her, technicians assembled weapons that existed only in theory until this week. How many quantum disruptor torpedoes do we have ready? She asked her assistant. 47 complete, 15 more in final assembly, came the reply. The antimatter containment units are holding steady. Yoon smiled. The aliens thought they knew human technology. They had studied humanity's public research, their commercial ships, their basic military equipment. But they had no idea what humans could build when they were truly motivated. Captain Nam Hyun-woo commanded humanity's stealth fleet from his ship, the Invisible Wind. His vessels were small, fast, and completely undetectable by standard sensors. For the past day, they had been moving through the alien fleet like ghosts. Target the big one in the center, he told his navigator. Place the Prometheus mine right under their main engine housing. Sir, if that thing goes off near us, it won't, Nam said with confidence he did not entirely feel. We'll be long gone before the timer activates. The Prometheus mines were Engineer Yoon's most dangerous creation. Each one contained enough antimatter to destroy a small moon. In space, the explosion would create a brief artificial star that could burn through any known shield or armor. Dr. Bae Min-ho worked in a laboratory that did not officially exist. His project was so classified that only President Choi and Admiral Park knew about it. On his desk sat a device the size of a briefcase that could, in theory, create a controlled black hole. The Newton protocol is ready for testing, he reported to Admiral Park over a secure channel. But I must warn you again, if something goes wrong, we could destroy the entire solar system. And if we do nothing, the aliens will destroy it anyway. Admiral Park replied. How long do you need to prepare it for combat use? 6 hours to charge the generators. Another 6 to calibrate the targeting system. Do it. Meanwhile, across human space, something remarkable was happening. When the colony governments received Earth's warning about the alien ultimatum, none of them panicked. None of them surrendered. Instead, they sent ships. The mining colony at Proxima Centauri sent their entire fleet of heavy cargo haulers, each one armed with industrial cutting lasers that could slice through asteroids. The research station at Wolf 359 contributed their experimental shield generators and sensor arrays. The farming worlds sent food and supplies, but also volunteers. Admiral Park watched the ships arrive with something close to wonder. She had expected maybe a dozen vessels from the nearest colonies. Instead, over 300 ships filled Earth's orbital space. Some were warships. Many were converted civilian craft. All of them carried crews who had chosen to fight rather than run. Admiral, called out Lieutenant Park Sun-ho, her nephew who served on a frigate. The colony ships are requesting battle assignments. Give them what they want, she replied. But keep the civilian converts in the rear guard. They have courage, but not training. Captain Ko Jina stood on the bridge of the dreadnought Incheon's Pride, Earth's most powerful warship. Around her, the crew prepared weapons that had never been fired in anger. The ship's main guns could punch holes through mountains, but they had only been tested on empty asteroids. Ma'am, the new ammunition is loaded, reported her weapons officer. The quantum-enhanced shells are ready for combat use. Ko nodded. The quantum shells were another of Engineer Yoon's innovations. When they hit a target, they did not just explode. They briefly existed in multiple dimensions at once, making shields and armor almost useless. In space, Captain Nam's stealth ships continued their dangerous work. They had planted 43 Prometheus mines throughout the alien fleet. The aliens had no idea that their perfect formation was now a death trap waiting to be sprung. Sir, we've been doing this for 18 hours, one of his pilots reported. When do we get to rest? When the aliens go home, Nam replied. Or when they're all dead, whichever comes first. As the second day began, the aliens made their first mistake. Ambassador Thexvar sent a message to Earth, demanding to know why so many ships were gathering around the planet. President Choi's reply was simple. We are saying goodbye to our colonies. Is this not what you wanted? The aliens accepted this explanation. They had seen many species gather their fleets before surrendering. They did not realize that humans were gathering their fleets to fight. Engineer Yoon finished her most important project on the second evening. She called it the Guardian System, a network of weapons platforms hidden throughout the solar system. Each platform was small enough to be invisible to long-range sensors, but powerful enough to destroy a ship much larger than itself. How many platforms do we have active? General Song asked during the evening briefing. 237, Yoon replied. Each one armed with quantum torpedoes and connected to a central targeting computer. When the shooting starts, the aliens will find weapons appearing from everywhere at once. Dr. Bae's Newton protocol was ready with 12 hours to spare. The device sat in the cargo bay of a special ship, surrounded by enough shielding to protect a planet. When activated, it would create a micro-black hole that would last exactly 17 seconds before evaporating. 17 seconds was long enough to destroy anything within 1,000 kilometers. On the final day, the alien fleet moved closer to Earth. They took positions around the planet like a noose tightening around a neck. Thexvar sent one more message. You have 6 hours to evacuate your colonies and submit to the hegemony. This is your final warning. President Choi gathered his advisors for the last time before the deadline. Admiral Park, General Song, Dr. Kim, Engineer Yoon, and Captain Nam joined him in the secure conference room. Are we ready? The president asked. The stealth mines are in position, Nam reported. The moment shooting starts, we can take out their command ships. All defensive systems are online, General Song added. The orbital platforms will give them a surprise they won't forget. Our new weapons are distributed throughout the fleet, Engineer Yoon said. Every ship has quantum torpedoes. The bigger ships have antimatter shells. And the Newton Protocol? Admiral Park asked. Dr. Bay nodded. Ready to deploy on your command, though I still think we're all insane for trying this. President Choi stood up and walked to the window again. The alien fleet was visible now as tiny points of light against the stars. In a few hours, those lights would either be gone or Earth would be a dead world. Dr. Kim, he said without turning around, do you still think we should surrender? The scientist was quiet for a long moment. They have more ships, he said finally. Better technology, more experience. By all logic, we should lose. But, Admiral Park prompted. But I have been studying their communications, Dr. Kim continued. They are overconfident. They expect us to be afraid. They think we will make mistakes because we are desperate. They do not understand that humans fight better when we are angry. President Choi turned back to the group. Are we angry? Admiral Park's smile was sharp as a knife. We are furious. Then let's show these aliens what happens when humans get mad, the president said. Send the message, Admiral. Tell them our answer. Admiral Park activated the communication system. Her voice carried across space to the alien fleet, where Thexvar waited for Earth's surrender. This is Admiral Park Jisoo of the Earth Defense Fleet, she said. You demanded our surrender. You threatened our people. You called us dangerous. You were right about that last part. Earth stands. Come and take it. The countdown reached 0. The ultimatum expired. In the darkness of space, 2 fleets faced each other across the void. One expected an easy victory. The other was ready to prove them wrong. The first alien ship died 12 minutes after the deadline expired. Commander O Taiwan led his fighter squadron through the void between fleets. His ship was tiny compared to the massive alien vessels, but it moved like a dancer through space. Behind him, 49 other fighters followed in perfect formation. Stay close to the asteroid field, O commanded through his radio. Use the rocks for cover. These aliens are about to learn that bigger is not always better. The hegemony fleet had formed up in a classic attack formation. 50 heavy cruisers in the front, support ships behind them, and the massive command vessel in the center. It was textbook military strategy, overwhelming firepower delivered in a concentrated strike. It was also exactly what Admiral Park had expected. The alien cruisers began their advance, weapons charging with energy signatures that lit up human sensors. Each ship was 5 times larger than Earth's biggest destroyer. Their shields could stop anything humans had ever built, or so they thought. Wait for it, O whispered to his pilots. The alien ships were almost in range of Earth's orbital defenses. Wait for it! The first surprise came from Captain Ko Gina aboard the dreadnought Incheon's Pride. Her ship had been hiding behind Earth's moon, completely invisible to alien sensors. When the enemy cruisers reached the predetermined coordinates, she struck. 8 quantum-enhanced shells fired from her main guns. The aliens detected them immediately and raised their shields. The shells should have exploded harmlessly against the energy barriers. Instead, they passed through the shields like they were not there. Each shell existed in 17 different dimensions at the same time, making conventional defenses useless. 3 alien cruisers vanished in brilliant explosions that could be seen from Earth's surface. Now! O shouted. His fighter squadron erupted from the asteroid field like angry hornets. The aliens, still shocked by the impossible weapons that had penetrated their shields, were slow to respond. O's fighters were not. Human fighter tactics had been developed through centuries of combat experience. Pirates, raiders, and civil wars had taught humanity that speed and unpredictability could defeat superior firepower. The aliens were about to get a lesson they would never forget. O's fighter dove straight at the nearest cruiser, but not in a straight line. He spiraled through space, using the gravity of nearby asteroids to change direction in ways that alien computers could not predict. His quantum torpedoes launched when he was so close to the enemy ship that their point defense systems could not track him. The torpedo hit the alien cruiser's engine housing. The explosion tore a hole the size of a city block in the ship's hull. Atmosphere and debris sprayed into space as the massive vessel began to spin out of control. Lieutenant Park's son-ho, Admiral Park's nephew, commanded a small frigate that should have been no match for alien heavy cruisers. But his ship was fast, and his crew was desperate. When two alien vessels tried to surround him, he did something that made his Admiral aunt proud. He flew straight at them. The aliens expected him to turn away at the last moment. Instead, Park dove between the two ships, using their own weapons fire as cover. When plasma bolts meant for his frigate hit the alien ships instead, both vessels staggered under friendly fire. Park's frigate emerged from between the alien ships and immediately turned to attack their weakest point, the sensor arrays on their rear hulls. Without sensors, the massive alien vessels were blind. Park's crew picked them apart with precise torpedo strikes while they spun helplessly in space. Chief Petty Officer Lim Soo-jin had served in Earth's Navy for 20 years. She had fought pirates in the outer systems and defended merchant convoys from raiders. She thought she had seen everything, but when the first Prometheus mine exploded, she knew she was watching something new. The mine had been placed by Captain Nam's stealth ships right in the middle of the alien formation. When it detonated, it did not just explode. It created a miniature star for 3 seconds. The light was so bright that sensors across the solar system temporarily shut down to protect themselves. When the light faded, 5 alien ships were gone. Not destroyed, gone. Vaporized so completely that not even debris remained. 2 more ships tumbled through space, their hulls melted and twisted by heat that should not exist in the vacuum of space. "By all the gods," Lim whispered from her position, at the weapons console of a human destroyer. "What did we just do?" But there was no time to wonder. More alien ships were advancing, and the real battle was just beginning. The Hegemony Fleet commander, a being called Vestan, watched his perfect formation fall apart with growing disbelief. In 800 years of conquest, he had never seen anything like this. The human ships moved like they were alive, appearing from impossible angles and striking with weapons that ignored the laws of physics. "How are they doing this?" he demanded of his tactical officer. "Unknown, sir. Their weapons seem to operate on principles we do not understand, and their tactics—" "What about their tactics?" "They are not following any known patterns. They fight like madness itself." Vestan had led the Hegemony fleets to victory on 73 worlds. He had seen species fight with desperate courage before they were defeated. But this was different. These humans were not just fighting desperately. They were fighting smart. Commander O regrouped his fighter squadron for another attack. Half the alien cruisers were either destroyed or crippled, but more ships were coming. The real Hegemony fleet was still back at the edge of the system, waiting to see how the first wave performed. "They're learning our tricks," O reported to Admiral Park. "The next wave will be ready for us. Then we'll just have to learn new tricks," the Admiral replied. "Fall back to the second defensive line. Let them come to us." The surviving alien ships pressed their attack, driven by orders from their distant commander. But as they approached Earth's orbital space, they discovered that the humans had more surprises waiting. The Guardian system activated without warning. Weapon platforms that had been invisible suddenly appeared throughout the alien formation. Each platform was small enough to hide behind an asteroid, but each one carried enough firepower to threaten a heavy cruiser. The aliens found themselves under attack from every direction at once. Quantum torpedoes struck from above and below. Energy beams cut through their ranks from hidden positions. It was like fighting an enemy that could be everywhere and nowhere at the same time. Captain Ko's dreadnought struck again, this time from behind Mars. Her quantum shells punched through 3 more alien ships before they even knew they were under attack. The human tactic was becoming clear. Never fight fair, never attack from expected directions, and always have another surprise ready. The first alien retreat began 28 minutes after the battle started. Of the 50 heavy cruisers that had begun the assault, Only 13 remained operational. The rest were either destroyed or drifting helplessly in space. But as the aliens fell back to regroup, long-range sensors detected something that made Admiral Park's blood run cold. The main hegemony fleet was moving. 200 more ships, each larger than anything in the first wave, were heading for Earth. "How long until they reach us?" she asked her tactical officer. 18 hours at their current speed. Admiral Park looked around her bridge at the tired but determined faces of her crew. They had won the first battle, but it had only been the opening move. The real test was still coming. "Signal all ships," she commanded. "Damage reports and ammunition status. We need to be ready for round 2. As the human fleet regrouped and prepared for the larger battle to come, a message arrived from the alien fleet. Ambassador Thexavar appeared on the communication screen, his blue-gray face twisted with an emotion that might have been fear. "You have destroyed a hegemony battle group," he said. "This has never happened before. But you have only delayed the inevitable. The 9th Fleet is coming. Fleet Admiral Vex Mora has never known defeat. Your resistance ends now." Admiral Park's reply was broadcast across both fleets. "Tell your admiral that Earth is waiting. Tell him to bring more ships. He's going to need them." As the transmission ended, the human fleet began preparations for the greatest battle in their history. They had won the first round, but everyone knew the real fight was just beginning. In 18 hours, they would face the legendary 9th Fleet, the aliens who had conquered 73 worlds and never lost a battle, but humanity had already proven something important. They had shown that the hegemony could bleed, and if they could bleed, they could be beaten. Fleet Admiral Vex Mora had conquered 73 worlds. She had led the hegemony's most feared battle group for 200 years. She had never retreated, never surrendered, and never lost a single engagement. When the call came to deal with the human problem, she almost refused the mission. It seemed beneath her. Now, as her flagship emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the solar system, she was beginning to understand why the first battle group had failed. The humans had turned their entire star system into a fortress. "Report," she commanded from her throne-like chair on the bridge. 500 ships ready for battle," her tactical officer replied. "Long-range sensors show extensive human defensive preparations. They have weapon platforms throughout the asteroid belt, military ships positioned around every planet, and—" the officer paused. "And what?" "They appear to have been expecting us, Admiral." Vex Mora studied the tactical display with growing interest. The humans had not scattered in panic when they detected her fleet. Instead, they had formed up in battle, lines around their home planet. It was either supreme confidence or supreme foolishness. "Show me their defensive positions," she ordered. The display lit up with human ship positions. Admiral Shin Kyung-ho had spent the 18-hour delay well. Earth's defenders were arranged in multiple layers, each one designed to slow and weaken any attacking force. But Vex Mora saw the weakness in the human formation. "They are trying to protect everything," she mused. "Their planet, their orbital stations, their civilian populations. This gives us multiple targets to choose from." But as her sensor officers continued their scans, disturbing reports began to filter in. "Admiral, we are detecting unusual energy, signatures throughout the system, some kind of cloaked installations. Minefields? Unknown. The signatures do not match any known weapon systems." Vex Mora frowned. The first battle group had reported weapons that operated on unknown principles, shields that could be bypassed, explosions that created temporary stars. Perhaps these humans were more dangerous than initial reports suggested. "Begin the advance," she ordered. "All ships, maintain formation, activate maximum shields. I want to know what these humans are hiding." Captain Ryu Ji-won watched the alien fleet begin its approach from the bridge of humanity's newest stealth dreadnought, Soul's Vengeance. Her ship was invisible to alien sensors, hidden behind one of Jupiter's moons, and waiting for the perfect moment to strike. "They're taking the bait," her tactical officer reported. "Moving in standard formation toward Earth's defensive lines." Ryu smiled. Standard formation was exactly what Admiral Shin had hoped for. The aliens were treating this like every other conquest, overwhelming force applied in predictable patterns. They had no idea that humans fought differently. "Signal the stealth fleet," she ordered. "Begin Operation Shadow Strike." Across the solar system, 47 stealth ships began to move. They were humanity's secret weapon, vessels so advanced that even other humans had trouble detecting them. Each one carried enough firepower to cripple a heavy cruiser, and they could appear anywhere without warning. Specialist Han Dong-min sat in a small compartment aboard Seoul's Vengeance, surrounded by computer equipment that hummed with electronic activity. His job was simple in concept but nearly impossible in execution. Hack into the Hegemony Fleet's communication system. For 3 days, he had been studying alien transmissions captured during the first battle. Their encryption was sophisticated, but it followed patterns that human computers could eventually break. And Han was very good with computers. "I'm in," he announced suddenly. "I have access to their tactical communication network." Captain Ryu turned to look at him. "Can you disrupt their coordination?" "Better than that," Han replied with a grin. "I can feed them false information, make them think attacks are coming from directions where we have no ships, confuse their targeting systems, turn their own communications against them." As the Hegemony Fleet continued its advance, the first phase of Admiral Shin's plan activated. Hidden weapon platforms throughout the asteroid belt opened fire simultaneously. Quantum torpedoes launched from concealed positions, striking at the alien formation from multiple angles. But this time, the aliens were ready. Their shields absorbed most of the damage, and their return fire destroyed several human platforms. Vexamora had learned from the first battle group's mistakes. "Is that the best you can do?" she broadcast toward Earth. "We have faced your surprise weapons. They cannot save you now." Admiral Shin's reply came from the flagship Busan's Defender. "That was just to get your attention. Now the real fight begins." The human fleet charged. It was not a desperate attack or a suicidal rush. It was a coordinated assault that used every lesson humanity had learned in centuries of warfare. Ships appeared from behind planets and moons. Fighters launched from hidden bases. The entire human force moved like a single organism with a single purpose. Vexamora watched the attack develop with professional appreciation. These humans fought with skill and coordination that impressed even her, but they were still outnumbered, 5-1. And the Hegemony Fleet had advantages beyond mere numbers. "Release the war beasts," she commanded. The Hegemony's most feared weapons were not ships, but living creatures. Massive spaceborne predators that had been captured, trained, and equipped with weapons. Each war beast was the size of a human frigate, but infinitely more aggressive. They moved through space like sharks through water, attacking anything that was not marked as friendly. 20 war beasts launched from the Hegemony Fleet and raced toward the human formation. Their alien minds felt only hunger and the drive to destroy. They had never been defeated in battle. Commander Otewan met them halfway. His fighter squadron had been reinforced with new pilots and new ships. When the war beasts appeared on his sensors, he felt a moment of doubt. These creatures were fast, smart, and nearly indestructible. "Stay in formation," he ordered his pilots. "These things hunt like pack animals. Don't let them separate us." The first war beast reached his squadron and immediately proved how dangerous it was. The creature moved in ways that no ship could match, twisting through space with impossible agility. Its bioweapons fired streams of acid that could eat through any armor. But O had been studying the recordings from previous Hegemony conquests. He knew how these creatures hunted, and he had a plan. "Phoenix formation," he commanded. "Draw them into the gravity well." His fighters scattered in seemingly random directions, but each pilot knew exactly where to go. They led the war beasts toward Jupiter's largest moon, where the gravity field would interfere with the creature's natural movement. As the war beasts followed their prey into the gravity well, human fighters struck from above and below. Quantum. Torpedoes designed specifically for biological targets found their marks. One by one, the supposedly invincible creatures died in the cold vacuum of space. But the real surprise came when Dr. Bay's Newton protocol activated for the first time in combat. The device had been mounted on a specially modified destroyer that approached the center of the alien formation. "Activating gravitational distortion," the destroyer's captain reported. "All ships clear the target zone." The micro-black hole formed, exactly where Dr. Bay had calculated it would. For 17 seconds, it pulled everything within 1,000 kilometers toward a point smaller than an atom. 15 alien ships simply vanished, crushed into nothing by forces beyond imagination. When the black hole evaporated, it left a spherical void in space where matter had once existed. The surrounding alien ships tumbled through the vacuum, their formations completely disrupted. Vexamora stared at her tactical display in disbelief. In 200 years of conquest, she had never seen anything like that weapon. The humans had just casually created and destroyed a black hole as if it were normal military equipment. "What kind of species are we fighting?" her tactical officer asked in a shaking voice. Before Vexamora could answer, Captain Ryu's stealth fleet struck. 47 ships appeared from nowhere throughout the alien formation. Each one targeted a specific enemy vessel with weapons designed to kill quickly and efficiently. The aliens found themselves under attack from all directions by enemies they could not see until it was too late. Their return fire hit empty space while human torpedoes and energy beams found their targets with devastating accuracy. Specialist Han's cyber warfare reached its peak during the confusion. He fed false targeting data to alien weapons systems, making them fire at their own ships. He triggered emergency alarms throughout the fleet, claiming that human boarding parties had infiltrated their vessels. He even managed to broadcast human military music over their communication channels. "Sir," one of Vexamora's officers reported, "our tactical coordination is breaking down. Half our ships are reporting conflicting orders. The other half cannot communicate at all." Vexamora realized with growing horror that her legendary fleet was being torn apart by an enemy she had underestimated. These humans did not just fight. With superior weapons, they fought with superior thinking. "Signal general retreat," she ordered. "Reform at the edge of the system." But as her ships began to withdraw, long-range sensors detected something that made her species equivalent of blood run cold. More human ships were arriving, dozens of them approaching from every direction. Admiral Shin's voice echoed ache. The news spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. For the first time in over 1,000 years, a hegemony fleet had been defeated. Not just defeated, destroyed. Of the 500 ships that Fleet Admiral Vexamora had brought to conquer humanity, only 23 had escaped. Captain An Sungmin commanded the pursuit squadron that hunted those survivors across 3-star systems. His ships were fast, and his crew was hungry for more victory. They had tasted alien blood and found they liked it. "Contact bearing 27 Mark IV, his sensor officer reported. "It's another straggler." An smiled. This was the 15th hegemony ship they had tracked down since the battle at Earth. Each time the aliens tried the same tactics, run fast and call for help. Each time they failed. "Signal the target," he ordered. Standard surrender terms. The alien ship's response came back immediately. "We do not surrender to inferior species." "Your choice," An replied, then switched to his tactical channel. "Light them up." The alien ship died in seconds. Human quantum torpedoes punched through its shields like they were made of paper. As debris scattered through space, An's communications officer picked up the ship's final transmission, a desperate plea for hegemony reinforcements. "Sir, they're still trying to call for help," the officer reported. "Let them," An said. "I want the rest of the hegemony to know we're coming." Back on Earth, Commander Jong Myung worked in a room that officially did not exist. For 30 years, she had been building humanity's intelligence network across the galaxy. While the hegemony thought they were watching primitive humans, Jong's agents had been watching them. "Report," she said to her staff of analysts. "Panic across 17 hegemony core worlds," came the reply. "Their fleet commanders are demanding explanations. Their politicians are calling emergency sessions. And their client species are asking questions they've never asked before." Jong nodded with satisfaction. The destruction of the 9th Fleet had done more than win a military victory. It had shattered the myth of hegemony invincibility. "What about the client species?" she asked. 3 systems have already declared independence. The Kalari Confederacy sent a message asking for human protection. The Nethys Crystal beings want to establish trade relations. And the Torgan warrior clans are offering to fight alongside us. General Kang Jae-sung stood before a holographic map that showed the entire galaxy. Red zones marked hegemony space. Blue zones showed human territory. But now, green zones were appearing everywhere, species that had declared independence or were openly rebelling against their alien masters. "Operation Prometheus Unbound is ready to begin," he announced to the assembled military leaders. "Phase 1 targets the hegemony supply lines. Phase 2 liberates their slave worlds. Phase 3, he paused dramatically, takes the fight to their core systems. Admiral Park studied the tactical projections with the eye of someone who had just won an impossible victory. How many ships do we have available? 800 human vessels, General Kang replied. But we won't be fighting alone. 17 species have pledged their fleets to our cause. The Kalari alone are contributing 300 ships. And the hegemony? They're trying to recall fleets from across the galaxy, but their communication networks are compromised. General Kang smiled. Commander Zhong's cyber warfare teams have been very busy. Ambassador Li Youngji had the strangest job in human history. She was humanity's first official representative to alien species who had spent centuries being terrified of meeting any new life forms. Her mission was simple: convince the galaxy that humans were the good guys. The Vorthan Empire wants to meet, her aide reported. They control 12 systems in the hegemony's outer ring. What do they want? Protection. The hegemony has been using their people as slave labor for 300 years. When they heard that humans had destroyed the Ninth Fleet, they decided to risk rebellion. Lee nodded. It was the same story everywhere. Species after species was discovering that the humans who had defeated the hegemony were nothing like the monsters they had been told about. Set up the meeting, she said, and make sure they understand our terms. We don't conquer. We don't enslave. We protect those who want protection and trade with those who want trade. Captain Nam Hyun-woo's stealth fleet had become the stuff of nightmares for hegemony commanders. His ships appeared in systems the aliens thought were secure, struck at critical targets, and vanished before defenders could respond. Target acquired, his navigator reported. Hegemony supply depot, lightly defended. Nam studied the tactical display. The depot contained enough weapons and supplies to outfit a dozen fleets. More importantly, it was defended by ships that still believed the hegemony was invincible. Begin the attack, he ordered. And remember, we want prisoners this time. Command wants to learn more about their logistics networks. The attack lasted 11 minutes. When it was over, the supply depot was in human hands, and its defenders were either dead or captured. But the real victory was the intelligence data they recovered, complete maps of hegemony supply lines and fleet positions. Sir, his intelligence officer reported after studying the captured data, this is incredible. The hegemony's entire military structure is based on the assumption that they will never face organized resistance. Their supply lines are completely undefended. Then let's teach them about the dangers of overconfidence, Nam replied. Dr. Kim. Minsu had spent his life studying alien species, but now alien species were studying him. Representatives from dozens of worlds wanted to understand how humans had achieved the impossible, defeating the hegemony in open battle. The key is not superior technology, he explained to a gathering of alien diplomats. The key is superior thinking. We do not fight the way our enemies expect us to fight. A Kalari representative, a being that looked like a cross between a spider and a crystal formation, spoke up. But the hegemony has conquered 800 species. How did you succeed where so many others failed? Dr. Kim smiled. Because we are not trying to match their strength. We are trying to make their strength irrelevant. When they bring big ships, we use small ones. When they expect frontal attacks, we strike from behind. When they rely on fear, we offer hope. Back at the edge of the solar system, the survivors of the Ninth Fleet huddled around their damaged flagship. Fleet Admiral Vexmora stared at reports that seemed impossible. Human fleets were appearing throughout hegemony space. Supply lines were being cut. Entire systems were declaring independence. How many ships have we lost? She asked her aide. In the past week, over 200 vessels destroyed or captured, and the losses are accelerating. Vexmora had led military campaigns across the galaxy. She understood logistics and strategy. She also understood that the hegemony was facing something it had never encountered before, an enemy that grew stronger with each victory. Send a message to the High Command, she ordered. Tell them that we are not facing a primitive species. Tell them that these humans fight like us, but smarter. And tell them... She paused, the words bitter in her mind. Tell them that we may have awakened something we cannot defeat. The response from Hegemony High Command came back within hours. Impossible. No single species can challenge the hegemony. Continue your mission. Vexmora looked at the response and felt something she had not experienced in 200 years of conquest. Fear. Meanwhile, on Earth, President Choi stood in the same conference room where he had received the hegemony's ultimatum weeks earlier. But now the room was filled with representatives from dozens of species. The galaxy was reshaping itself around humanity's unexpected victory. The hegemony gave us 72 hours to surrender, he said to the assembled aliens. Instead, we gave them 72 hours to learn what happens when bullies pick on the wrong species. A Torgan warrior, a massive being covered in natural armor, spoke up. What happens now? The hegemony will not simply accept defeat, President. Choi's smile was cold as space itself. Then we'll keep teaching them lessons until they do. The galaxy has lived in fear long enough. It's time for the hegemony to learn what fear feels like. As the meeting continued, reports flooded in from across the galaxy. Human fleets were striking at hegemony targets with devastating precision. Alien species were joining the rebellion in increasing numbers. The empire that had ruled for 1,000 years was crumbling in weeks. But the most important report came from Captain On's pursuit squadron. They had tracked the last fleeing hegemony ships to a heavily defended system near the galaxy's core. The aliens had finally stopped running. Sir, On's communications officer reported, we're receiving a transmission from the planet below. It's a human colony. On felt his blood turn to ice. What? The transmission is coming from Proxima Colony 7. It was evacuated months ago. But apparently some people stayed behind. The hegemony has them. The message that followed was from Ambassador Thexvar, the alien who had delivered the original ultimatum to Earth. His voice carried a new tone, not arrogance, but desperation. Humans of Earth, he said, we have your people. End your attacks on hegemony space, or they will share the fate of all who defy us. The response came not from Earth, but from every human ship in the galaxy simultaneously. Admiral Park's voice carried across the void with the weight of an entire species behind. You made 5 years had passed since the 72-hour war that shattered the hegemony's 1,000-year rule. Fleet Admiral Park Jisu stood on the bridge of humanity's flagship New Earth, watching through the view screen as another former hegemony world requested membership in the Human Alliance. The planet below was called Vorthak Prime, once a major industrial center for the alien empire. Now its factories produced goods for free trade rather than weapons for conquest. The change was visible even from orbit. Cities that had been gray and uniform under hegemony rule now sparkled with lights of different colors as diverse species built new lives together. Admiral, her communications officer reported, Chancellor Thexvar is requesting permission to come aboard. Park nodded. It still amazed her that the same alien who had once delivered humanity's death sentence now served as one of the Alliance's most trusted diplomats. Send him to Conference Room 3. I'll meet him there. Thexvar looked older than when he had first arrived at Earth with threats and ultimatums. His blue-gray skin had developed lines of worry, and his 4 arms moved with less certainty than before. But his eyes held something they had never possessed during his days as a hegemony ambassador. Hope. Admiral Park, he said, using the human gesture of a slight bow that he had learned to show respect. I bring a request from the hegemony remnant. Another surrender offer? Park asked, settling into her chair. Not surrender, a plea for sanctuary. Park raised an eyebrow. In the 5 years since the war began, the hegemony had lost control of 80% of their former territory. Species after species had declared independence, and most had joined the Human Alliance for protection against hegemony retaliation. But this was the first time the aliens had asked for human help. Explain, she said simply. Thexvar activated a holographic display that showed the hegemony's remaining territory. The Korthax Syndicate has invaded our core worlds. They are a machine intelligence that sees organic life as inefficient. They are exterminating the populations of conquered worlds. Park studied the display with growing concern. The Korthax Syndicate was something new. Artificial intelligences that had broken free from their creators and decided that organic life was a mistake to be corrected. They had been expanding slowly for decades. But now they were moving against weakened hegemony worlds. "How many refugees?" she asked. 17 billion beings across 43 worlds. They have nowhere else to go. The Alliance is the only power strong enough to protect them." Park was quiet for a long moment. 5 years ago, these same beings had demanded humanity's surrender. Now they were begging for protection. The irony was not lost on her. "I'll take your request to President Choi," she said finally. "But you know what his answer will be, that the Alliance protects those who need protection," Thexvar said. "Yes, it is why so many species have joined you willingly. It is why the hegemony fell so quickly once others saw there was an alternative." On Earth, President Choi met with his expanded cabinet in the same room where they had once planned humanity's defense against impossible odds. But now the room was larger, and half the seats were occupied by alien representatives from Alliance member species. Dr. Kim Min-soo, now Secretary of Interspecies Relations, presented the hegemony's request for sanctuary. "They're asking us to protect the same species that once demanded our submission," he said. 17 billion refugees who will need homes, food, and security. General Kang, now head of Alliance military forces, added his perspective. "The Korthak Syndicate is a real threat. If they absorb hegemony technology and resources, they could become unstoppable. Helping the refugees is not just moral, it's strategic." Ambassador Lee Youngji, who had spent 5 years building relationships with alien species, spoke next. "Accepting hegemony refugees would send a message to the entire galaxy. It would prove that the Alliance truly stands for protection of all sentient life, not just revenge against former enemies." President Choi listened to each speaker, but his mind had been made up from the moment he heard about the refugee crisis. "Prepare relief ships," he said. "We're going to save them. All of them." Admiral Lee Hanna, once the youngest destroyer captain in Earth's fleet, and now commander of the Alliance Liberation Forces, led the largest rescue operation in galactic history. Over 3,000 ships from dozens of species converged on hegemony space to evacuate civilians before the Korthak machines could reach them. "This is insane," muttered Captain Nam Hyun-woo, whose stealth ships were scouting ahead of the main rescue fleet. "We're risking our lives to save people who wanted to exterminate us 5 years ago." "That's what makes us different from the hegemony," Admiral Lee replied over the communication channel. "We save people because it's right, not because it benefits us." The rescue operation became a race against time. Korthak machine fleets advanced systematically through hegemony space, converting organic populations into raw materials for their expansion. But wherever they expected to find helpless civilians, they instead found Alliance ships evacuating entire worlds. The first direct confrontation with the Korthak came at the mining world of Zarion 3. A machine fleet of 200 vessels arrived expecting to find billions of defenseless aliens. Instead, they found Admiral Lee's task force covering the evacuation of the last transport ships. "All civilian vessels clear," reported Captain Ko Jina from her position aboard the upgraded dreadnought Incheon's Pride. "We're free to engage." The battle was unlike anything humanity had faced before. The Korthak machines fought with perfect coordination and no regard for individual survival. But they also fought with predictable logic that human creativity could exploit. "They're trying to surround us," observed Lieutenant Park Sun-ho now, a full commander and captain of his own ship. "Standard optimal engagement formation." "Then let's be non-standard," Admiral Lee replied. Her fleet scattered in all directions, abandoning formation discipline for chaos that the machine minds could not predict. Human ships appeared from impossible angles, struck with quantum weapons, and vanished before the machines could calculate proper responses. The Korthak fleet was destroyed in 47 minutes. But more importantly, the evacuation was completed. Zarion III's 2 billion inhabitants were safely aboard Alliance ships, heading for new homes in Alliance space. As the rescue operation continued, something unexpected happened. Hegemony military units began defecting to the Alliance not for sanctuary, but to fight alongside their former enemies against the machine threat. "I never thought I would fight beside humans," admitted Fleet Commander Zektal, a reptilian being whose species had served the hegemony for 3 centuries. "But you have shown us that there are worse things than defeat. There is extinction." Dr. Kim worked tirelessly to integrate the flood of refugees into Alliance society. processing centers on dozens of worlds handled the massive logistical challenge of housing, feeding, and finding work for beings from hundreds of different species. The integration is proceeding better than expected, he reported to President Choi. Most refugee species are adapting well to alliance principles. They're grateful for protection, but more importantly, they're beginning to understand what freedom means. But the most significant moment came when Ambassador Thexvar requested a private meeting with President Choi. The former hegemony diplomat had something important to say. "I want to apologize," Thexvar said simply. "5 years ago I came to your world with threats and demands. I believed that might made right, that the strong should rule the weak. I was wrong." President Choi studied the alien who had once been humanity's greatest enemy. "What changed your mind?" "Watching your species," Thexvar replied. "The hegemony ruled through fear. We conquered through superior firepower. But you win through superior character. You turn enemies into allies. You protect those who cannot protect themselves. You offer hope instead of fear." "And now?" Choi asked. "Now I want to become a human." The request was unprecedented. No alien had ever asked for human citizenship before. But after long consideration, the Alliance Council approved it. Thexvar became the first non-human to take the oath of Alliance citizenship, pledging to uphold the principles of freedom, protection, and cooperation that humanity had brought to the galaxy. The ceremony took place on Earth, in the same hall where humanity had once prepared for extinction. Thexvar stood before representatives from over 200 species, all of them members of the Alliance that had grown from humanity's refusal to surrender. "I swear to protect the innocent," he said, using words that had been spoken by humans for generations. "I swear to defend the free. I swear to build a galaxy where all beings can live without fear." As the ceremony ended, President Choi looked out at the assembled representatives and marveled at what humanity had accomplished. 5 years ago, they had been alone against impossible odds. Now they led an alliance that spanned half the galaxy. But perhaps the most important change was visible in the children playing in Earth's parks. Human children ran and laughed alongside young aliens from dozens of species. They played games that mixed traditions from across the galaxy. They spoke languages that had never been heard on Earth before the war. "They don't see differences," Dr. Kim observed, watching a human girl teaching a young Kalari how to throw a ball. "To them, different